Joining us now, Kelly Sadler. Kelly is with America First Policies, the number one political action committee, the only sanctioned political action committee for the president's reelection. Thanks for being with us. I want to get right to the deal with the president that he made with Mexico. The threat of the tariffs, no doubt, got the Mexican government to the table. They flew up immediately to D.C. to meet with the president's negotiators. They cut a deal just before Monday. The New York Times, though, are reporting that it was an empty threat, that it was a joke, that they already had these agreements in place, and that the president is taking credit for a phantom negotiation. What say you?
Fake news, John. Fake news. I'm sorry, but the president last week, put down a threat of these tariffs. And immediately, just like you said, the Mexicans came to the table to negotiate, and they negotiated over a period of several days. That the administration was kind of tight-lipped as to what was going on. The fact of the matter is they brought them to the table, they signed a deal, and now we're seeing 6,000 troops, Mexican troops or National Guard troops, that are going to be deployed over Mexico's southern border to help secure that. Mexico has now said that people that are coming into the United States seeking asylum can reside in Mexico while that negotiation or while their cases are being processed, which is a big one, a big step in handling this border surge and this border crisis. And now let's just be clear: the president is acting within his emergency powers to do what he can to get Mexico to act. What should really be happening is Congress should be having these discussions on Capitol Hill and working towards solving this problem instead of chastising the president's tactics.
Look, the bottom line is the New York Times is reporting fake news, right? Fakely, erroneously. I mean, this is amazing. They're reporting that, a lot of all these deals were already put in place. Well, as I said earlier on the show, Kelly, even if they weren't being implemented. So what's the difference if somebody shakes your hand and says, I'm going to stop parking in your parking spot Monday, and then 3 months go by and they're still parking there? The deal doesn't mean anything. So what the president did was, even if any of these were talked about, none of it was getting implemented until now.
That's exactly right. And today, you saw the Mexican foreign minister said today 6,000 troops are going to be deployed on their southern border. Action is being taken today as a result of the president's, tariff threat. You can disagree with the tactics used in here, but you can't disagree with the results. Now, what's going to come is the U.S. State Department, the Department of Homeland Security, and this administration is going to monitor Mexico's action within the next 60 to 90 days, and we're going to expect those border crossing numbers to decrease to levels that they were back in 2016, 2017. Now, if that doesn't happen, the president's been very clear the tariffs will be brought back on the drawing board.
He says he's going to give them a maximum of 90 days, right?
Yeah,
so,
maximum 90 days.
He said, I'm going to give them 90 days, and if I don't get action, they're back on the table, because I was set to hit the trigger on these on Monday. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the president didn't do this so he can tariff Mexico. He did this to bring them to the table because we have a $350 billion annual trade deficit with the Mexican government. That's $350 billion of our money going to them to buy their stuff. So he has huge leverage. Why wouldn't you take that leverage and try to get something done to abet this crisis on the southern border? Because, look, hey, Kelly, here's the bottom line. Name one thing the Democrats have done to respond to this influx crisis, this invasion at the southern border. Can you name one thing they've done? That they've done?
No,
yeah.
I can't. I can't think of one thing that they've brought up in the House to solve it. I think of Beto O'Rourke over the weekend saying that he wants to abolish the citizenship test. Or take down border walls or border fencing, grant amnesty to millions of people here. I mean, those are not solutions. So, no, have I seen a solution or a proposal that makes common sense? No, I haven't. And right now in Congress, the president has declared, wants supplemental funds for the humanitarian crisis that's going on. I think it's $2.8 billion that Congress needs to approve. So these migrants coming in across the border have beds and have facilities for them to be held while their claims are being processed. These are humanitarian issues that the Democrats have traditionally always been supportive of, but are not granting the administration the funding. And by the end of this month, HHS will not have enough money needed to kind of prevent some of these stories that you're hearing of different children dying or contracting, sicknesses or disease. We won't have the money to help care for them.
Well, look, the Democrats want let's just knock off the charade and feigning responsibility here that the Democrats do. They want open borders because they can't get enough cheap votes in. They want to transform America. They can't win these red states now. They just want to import people in, give them welfare, give them phones, turn them into cheap votes. And the Republican donor base on Wall Street looks the other way, Goldman Sachs, and they give a wink and a nod because they want cheap labor. And this has been going on for 40 years. It's the unholy alliance. It's the biggest ruse of all time. And finally, this president has called it out, and now he's made the Mexican government complicit in the whole thing. Now they've got to act here in order to stop this, and I don't think there's any doubt. The bottom line is, Kelly, had he not made the tariff threat, they wouldn't have been at the table. I mean, they flew up the next day because they can't afford to lose what would have been probably $80 or $90 billion in cash going their way. They can't afford that. They lose jobs and things of that nature. That's why they flew up. That's why they did the negotiation. And now the president gave them another 90 days to act on it. Kelly Sadler with us, Chief of Communications for America First Policies, the only sanctioned political action committee for the re-election of the president, although, of course, independent of the campaign. Kelly, let's get to the job numbers on Friday. Democrats seizing on weaker job numbers, saying that the trade war with China is hurting, the economy is going to collapse. It's not sustainable. It's just like Obama said, we're going to get back to 1%. What say you?
I say that, you got to look at kind of the numbers itself. You saw strong wage growth, within these numbers, 3.2% wage growth. You had, 76,000 jobs added. So we're still adding, jobs every month at about, a 200,000 clip if you average that out, which is all good news. You also saw some seasonal softness where there was flooding, for example, which kind of halted the construction and manufacturing numbers. So we'll just we take these day by day, and next month there'll be a new jobs report.
The United States has experienced unbelievable job growth under President Trump and the Trump economy. Kelly, unemployment is now sitting at a 50-year low. This Trump economy has created 6 million new jobs since the president was elected. Wages have sustained continued growth now for 11 months in a row. The economy continues to grow at a clip of 3%. Remember, Obama said 1% was the new norm, that you had to change your expectations. I mean, I could go on with this stuff. But, they expected 120 jobs. They got 76,000. The sky is falling. The president's policies have created 6 million jobs. Look, they have nothing to run on. I don't know what it is if you're a Democrat other than run around with impeachment. Now they're bringing up, who are they bringing in to testify? What is it?
John Dean. Yeah,
John
Watergate
Dean from
guy.
Watergate? Kelly, I remember watching John Dean on a little black and white TV the summer when I was 15 in high school, right? Remember John Dean, the little weasel guy with the glasses? Oh, what is he, 90? I mean,
It's
that was what,
unbelievable.
73?
What is he going to testify on? He spent some jail time. So, is he even a credible witness? But, he's going to testify on the Mueller report? Have Mueller in. Subpoena him. This is just getting to be outlandish. This is what they'd rather spend their time on than, solving real crises, tackling China and this border crisis. So, yeah, the Democrats have lost their way. Nancy Pelosi has lost control of her caucus. And the only thing that they have any sort of agreement on is that the need to impeach this president who has performed for the American people.
What a clown show. They're bringing back John Dean. I'm just trying to think back. I remember watching it in the summer in between baseball practice. I was 15. So what was that, 1973 or something? That was like, what was that, 50 years ago? I just, for the life of me, I don't know what they're doing. But Kelly Sadler, thanks for being with us. John, I guess the
Thank you.
Democrats' answer now is bring in John Dean to testify. If he was 40 then and that was 50 years ago, he's going to be like 90. He's still around, I guess. That's the good news.